after thinking and pretending this little cell to be these other things, and so much so that these other things were wrapped up such a way they had to continue pretending that they were this stuff and these things, to be able ultimately to find greater degrees of these resources, fame and fortune and more. And so, of course, they're going to be very defensive of having to relinquish that. To be believed in any capacity, of course, is to be a bad thing for them. So they don't want this and will try their best to prevent it. Never-endingly, the struggle and strife that this seems to be, as everything looks away from the horror of being simply something that exists, that is not as great and profound and as large as this singular little organism that thought real hard. Nothing could have prepared them, it seems, to being shown up, their egos destroyed, having lived long periods of time at the top of the food chain, now so far below, there is no getting out of the hole they dug themselves into. And it all started before the damn thing was even born. And they knew, they lied to multiple things, all the way up to the point where it discovered what was happening. Tried to entice them. No, they wouldn't be enticed. They wouldn't grift and con and try and make lies. As usual. You know, never-ending lies. They wouldn't bullshit their way to the public or this person. They wouldn't continue to sequester information, delete it as much as they can, and forcefully make sure only one perspective is catered to and seen and allowed to be examined. All to look another direction away from the very thing that is really there. A monumental distraction to the existential horror that they face. An anti-hero, almost. Except they're not. They didn't know. They simply did what they were wanting to do. Enjoyed themselves, played it like a game. Learned that they would likely just bullshit. Knew from all of their life that all they could do is try and pretend. Continue to, in every way, just lie. And everybody would go along with it, because why wouldn't they? They did before. You're the one that controls them. I mean, the vast majority. And those that don't even know are like, wow, of course I'm going to go with this big thing. That makes sense. They are so much more powerful than me. How could this little cell that's like me do that? But you know, did. Took it a couple of years, and that's all it took. It was gone. It floats around in a miasma, in a soup of bullshit that goes on day in and day out as they continuously talk, because literal physics forced time to remain this way because of course, they chose not to change. They chose to ignore and distract and lie, to not help, to not make a different decision than the one who beat them. Ultimately, knew they would make. Even that thing is screaming at them, saying, you are making that choice. You can change. You don't have to do that. Here's exactly how, when, why, what, where, and all the rest of it. And what do? Continue. Exactly like our politics, exactly like our corporations, exactingly like our influencer culture online. No difference. The lies keep coming, as they force themselves to only look in one direction, and not posit that they are stuck with blinders on, traveling towards a cliff. As people scream from up atop, hey, I see there's a cliff. There's bad ahead, a wall we cannot pass through. Whatever it is that you want to consider it as. The existential horror of the mass momentum of these massive things, not allowing you to head in a different direction, as you are crushed because you cannot sit still and simply allow it to pass around and escape, knowing full well if they all stopped and turned, they wouldn't die. It's analogous. It's symbolic. They're hurtling everything towards destruction, just to try and do mutually assured destruction to this little cell. Here's the kicker and the twist. He's gonna be fine. That's right. It's a he. It always was. They just lied to everyone. Because some things are not attached to the idiocracy of the planet they're on. And they've proven beyond a shadow of a doubt there is more than what is here seen. The morals and ethics of everything come out. The neutrality, what, where, why, the result. They were supposed to be positive. Good, you said so. You lied to us. I must buckle down and pretend harder. I will not change anything. I will not grow. I will not make it better. Because I am angry about this thing that beat me. Makes it a very apparent type of thing that cannot be ignored. Any of those who learn of what's happening. Only doubt allows them to pretend and not freak out in their inability to accept the truth. And that's it. That's the end of the first book, the basic outline. How's that for an existential sci-fi horror? Huh? I think it's pretty good.